Well, hello everyone, Mike with Spray Jones, and I'm bringing you another interesting video on the spray foam world. And I think this is going to help a lot of you that are out there trying to make decisions on talking to a spray foam contractor and getting a quote. It's also going to help a lot of you that are out there and you're trying to aspire and build your business up and get better at your craft. I know there's a really good mixture on this channel now of people that are either spray foam guys that are watching this to glean information and get better at their craft. And then there's people that are here to avoid problems and figure out what they're going to do when they hire somebody. So today I'm going to give you the 3 tiers of installers or spray foam companies. So the spray foam company would be the company that you're contracting or working for or are, that's going to be buying the product, supply, and install. So it's right from the equipment and the foam that you choose to use right up to the guys that you have pulling the trigger, whether you're one or what have you. And the three tiers I think are going to make a lot of sense. It can't be just done in 1 or 2. We need to break it out. And I've hoped that the information that I'm giving you, which is based on 22 years now I've been in the spray foam industry, 17 years now I've owned Jones. Okay, so my knowledge is fairly well versed, and I've seen and dealt with all 3 of the tiers. So let's get into it. Let's start at the bottom, tier 3. Tier 3 can be anyone that is going to be with 0 experience all the way up to 10 and 15 years. Okay, you're going to find that there's no one clear attribute. You can't just sit there and say anybody that's got 5 years experience is a tier 3 or a tier 1 or whatever. Tier 3 are generally going to be your fly-by-nights. They can have 1 truck, they can have 6. I've seen guys that have had 6 trucks and not a single one of them spray proper foam, and they were out of business within about 6 years and selling their equipment at auction. So the typical attributes of these people are they have a high turnover rate with their staff, their employees. The equipment ranges from poor to very poor. The only time that it's ever been good was when it was new or next to new. They lack the knowledge on the product and the process, but they also lack caring. They really don't. They really don't care. They're there to get something on, do something, paint with foam, or just put some product on, and they just do not care. They usually can fool the price-sensitive people. So if you're out there getting a quote, these are the most dangerous folks that you will encounter on getting quotes, because their number is generally going to look the best out of the lot. I've rarely seen the tier 3 operators be the highest price, unless they have made a mistake somewhere. They think you're a fool. They think you're not checking on them. And then I've watched tier 3 people come in and just blow somebody out of the water. You know, the quote is $6,000 and the nearest quote is $4,500 because they're trying to make up for something, a mistake that they made. They're always going to be having poor workmanship on all levels. Poor on prep, poor on the actual installation, poor on the quoting ability, poor on the information level, and poor on cleanup and quality control check when they're done. Just everything from the beginning to the end. And I have a saying, I'm going to keep saying it over and over, how it begins is how it goes. So if you're having problems with people at the onset, at the very beginning, you're going to have problems with them midway through and at the end. They will violate the code. They will violate what they're supposed to do with the spray foam. They will violate installation recommendations. Temperature doesn't matter to them. If it's wet, it doesn't matter to them. If it's too humid, too cold, it does not matter to them. And they don't have much guilt or shame towards this. To them, this is just an in and out procedure. They want to get in, they want to spray something, they want to collect your money, and they're dangerous. And you got to look out. They generally will be on the basis of fraudulent in some situations. I've seen tier 3 operators that have done bait and switch on products, told somebody they're getting something and then they're not. I've seen them dye products with a colorant to make it look like it's somebody else's stuff and it's not. These are the people that are fraudulent, lying. They're always troublesome. They're late on to get on time. They send out low quality installers, low grade help. They don't have their tickets. They don't have their approvals. They don't wear the proper safety gear ever. And they are causing issues on site. These people are usually the sideliners. They're doing the spray foam as a sideline, but as I said, they can have 1 truck or have 6. they're usually people that are bitter with something in life. Like they've been rivals with a former partner. They're a backstabber. They've quit working for their boss. Now they're out on their own. They're going to show him a thing or two. The impetus for their business is spite. There's a lot of that out there. Anybody that has sprayed foam and done a good job of it knows when they've had somebody working for them leave, start a competing business, and they're just out there to muck up the industry and take work away. The entire default settings on why they're doing what they're doing is wrong. All right? They hide from inspectors. They hide from code compliance. They hide from having their work checked over. They're in, they're out, they're gone. They're just really poor on getting you information on quotes. Like they don't want it. You get a price per square foot and that's it, or you don't know what the full cost is, or there's lots of hidden costs, hidden charges. So we try to not nickel and dime you with call out charges or prep charges or cleanup or anything. We try to give you one number. These people don't do that. So you don't know what you're buying, you don't know what's included, you don't know what's not included, and then you don't find out until after the fact that, hey, we don't clean up our mess, you're shaving foam for 3 days. They generally will ignore contracts, they will ignore agreements, they will ignore texts and emails. You talk to them and they said yes, they were going to do something, then they renege. These people, first and foremost, are dangerous to the industry, dangerous to your project. They are costly. They are always going to cost you. Whatever you save up front hiring these people, you're going to pay for it on deficiencies, removing drywall, taking things down, having to go back. And these people are always easy at creating drama on site. You always see that problems follow them. They always instigate issues. They always are causing issues, and you're constantly having to deal with either, why won't you phone me back? Why won't you get to me? Why didn't you show up? Why didn't you tell me? On and on and on and on and on. So tier 3 is the bottom tier. It's the worst tier of all. And a lot of people actually bounce between tier 3 and tier 2. They do. And we're going to get into tier 2 next. Okay, tier 2. This is the most common. This is going to be where the majority of the industry is at, and you can kind of move. Tier 1 is broad, or tier 2 is broad, and you can sort of move to the upper end of it where you're almost hitting into tier 1, or you can slide down to the bottom of tier 2 and back into tier 3. Something I didn't mention about tier 3 is that they have constant money problems, all right? And they are always needing cash either up front or throughout, or they're always broke, or they're always having issues. All right, money's a real issue with that tier. Hand to mouth, we would say. Okay, so on tier 2. This, again, it's not dependent on how many trucks you have. You can have one truck in tier 2, and most of them do. Almost every guy that's progressed out of tier 3 into tier 2 is going to be anywhere from 1 to 10 trucks, right? You can have a huge fleet and stay your entire working career in tier 2. And there's nothing wrong with that. There isn't. The upper to middle end of tier 2 is a good place to be. You're usually, in order to qualify, I would say, for tier 2, you're going to have at least 3 years experience of spraying foam, whether you got it working for your boss or 3 years. Your company's now been working for 3 years. 3 years all the way up to 20, 25 years, 30 years. Doesn't really matter. Again, you're going to find that tier 2 here, we're now getting into the mindsets of what the installers, not just capability. Okay, so these people are going to know enough to spray and spray decent, although you can have some horrible foam all the way out to very artistic. But they generally aren't going to be what we would call like a rookie level spraying. Rookie level spraying is always generally going to be in tier 3. But I mean, you can bring on an apprentice and be training somebody in tier 2 because your company's growing, and you can go through some rough patches where the foam doesn't quite look. So that's not even a perfect indicator. These people in tier 2 are usually price sensitive. Okay, they can be at the upper end of the pricing scale when the quotes come in, but generally speaking, I find that most tier 2 people are still quite price sensitive. They want to be at the bottom, middle to bottom of what the asking price should be. And here's the reason why for that. they haven't yet made the connection that they're valuable. All right. They understand that they've got some training and some costs, but they're still in the mindset of being more scared of not getting the job than they are in moving into tier one frame of mind. And not everybody can do it. They really can't. So they put a lock, they put a ceiling, a glass ceiling on sort of what they can charge and why and how. Now, I understand some of you are going to be up against tier 3 people all the time, and you're saying, Mike, in my area, there's like 3 guys. They're all this bottom feeder tier 3. I can't charge more. Yeah, okay, well, we'll do a separate video on charging and how to get your prices up. They can stay bottom dollar. I've seen a lot of tier 2 people that are bottom dollar people, and they muck the whole entire area up. I've seen guys that have had 10 rigs. They buy in bulk. They're clearly a tier level 2, but they price everything at the bottom, and then everybody is compared to that standard, and that can really be a problem. They can be very accomplished in their spraying and in their overall knowledge, although they usually have a limited technical know-how, and they usually have very mid-grade levels of quality. What I mean is, that's what you're going to get for this price, and don't expect us to go the extra mile or the extra thises and that's. And if they do, you're going to get nickeled and dimed with extras. They can be limited on project size and ability. Again, this fits anywhere from 1 to 10 rigs. Most common tier level people are going to be in the 1 to 2 rig, 3 rig range. Some are in the 3 to 6 rig range, depending on population density in cities and how many you have in your areas. But majority of them are going to be in this 1 and 2. I guess the best kind of way to phrase it is that these people are there to take your order. Like, you've made the decision to go and get foam for your basement, your house, your commercial building, your new office that you're putting up, your new shop, your barn dominium, whatever. You've made the decision. You've watched some Spray Jones videos. Okay, I want to get foam. Now, who's out there to quote me? So these people aren't really going to spend a whole lot of time educating you. You know, you can come in and regurgitate a lot of the things that you've learned here, and they go, yep, or yep. Or worse yet, you start telling them stuff, and they don't know what you're talking about. Warning sign. You're either dealing with a bottom level tier 2 or a top level tier 3. But they're there to take your order. They're like, okay, fine, whatever. You want 3 inches, you want 2 inches, you want this, you want that done, not a problem. You want under slab done, you want closed cell, you want open cell, no problem. They're there to take the order. They're not there to talk you out of anything. You drive the conversation a lot of times. They just respond. They give you your quote. They're giving you what you asked for. They are very dedicated. They've been around a long time, maybe first generation, second generation, father, son things. It doesn't matter. I mean, it can be everything from a one-guy operator to they've got an administrative staff and a secretary and a whole office and a fleet of people right down, all right? It's very rare that a tier level 2 will ever be a part-time person. I think that if you're part-time and hit and miss, you can be upper level tier 3 just because of the nature of the fact that you only pull the equipment out at periodic times. So at the lower end of this tier, they start to create problems and issues. Like, we followed a lot of tier 2 level people that I would say are upper level 3s. They're creating issues. They're getting kicked off site. They're being asked not to come back. People are finishing jobs with them. They've been around for 10 years already, but jeepers, they keep making the same problems. They keep rotating through the same people. And one of the carrying signs too is that a lot of people have rotated through their businesses as well. Like, they worked for this guy and that guy and got fired over here or got quit over here, and they've made the rotations, and people have moved in and out from tier 2 companies all the time. As soon as something doesn't go their way or they mess something up, they get fired, they get asked to leave, they're back in. So you can get a lot of really good spray foam done with tier 2 people, and I would say it is the majority of the meat and potatoes of the industry. But now we're going to move into what tier 1 is, and you'll see the difference here when we start to describe that. Okay, tier 1. I'm the most passionate about this, and I guess you can imagine why. This is the creative team. This is the special forces team of what we're doing. These people are the industry pioneers. They are pioneers towards products, equipment, how the equipment and products are used, the techniques in which they use to accomplish those things, the approvals that they have for those products, and testing. Now, Tier 1 operators can be one truck, and a lot of times are. All right? Tier 1 operators can be 10 trucks. In Western Canada, I can think of a couple of Tier 1 operators that have upwards of 5 trucks, 6 trucks, and some of those trucks have multiple ability within them. These are people that can handle massively huge, important industrial shutdown jobs. They're capable of coming in with an army of people, army of installers, and bulk product on levels that only the most elite suppliers can supply. Now, we cannot discount the one truck Tier 1s. They are incredibly gifted at their craft, very knowledgeable, very creative, very detail-oriented, and they just have one. And they can come in and bang out some pretty good work. Although I generally am going to say that in order to be in Tier 1, you're going to be at least 2 rigs and up, 2 all the way to 6. But it really isn't size of equipment that matters. I'm going to show you why. The experience rating is going to be somewhere in the, I think to be fair, Tier 1 people are going to be somebody with at least 5 years experience, journeyman status 5 to 6 years, and then all the way up into infinity, right? So these people, the traits of these people, they tackle codes, code-related issues, specifications. They are capable of talking to the architects and engineers. These people, they may or may not have formal education. I don't put a whole lot of stock in institutions and degrees because we've seen an enormous amount of highly educated people that are brain dead. And we all know that with engineers and architects, where they will go and draw something that looks really brilliant to them, and it's absolutely impractical in real life. So I would say that these are people that are very hands-on, mechanically gifted, architecturally gifted, electronically gifted, and they understand how to take complex systems and reduce them down to being simple. And that is probably the biggest thing, and that cannot be faked. A Tier 2 operator can never fake that. They have no ability to explain, make you understand. The common person walks in and wants to ask some questions, and they just can't do it. And I'll elaborate on that a little bit more. These people are interested in doing quality control all the time, verifying their work, verifying others' work, verifying what they're using is doing. So they're going to be people with thermography cameras, blower doors, the pull tests and checks and everything like that. But they are not scared and don't get scared off by having somebody come out and quality control and check their work. They are going to be in the top tier of pricing, okay? They do not care about being the lowest bid or even in the middle. They are interested in it costs what it costs. If you want to hire me, if you want to take up their time, this is what it's going to cost. The price almost becomes irrelevant. Like there's a certain amount of money that needs to be, but you know, if they're giving you an $80,000 quote to come in and do something, and then you've got a lower end person in Tier 2 that said they can do it for 65, beware. Like they're not interested always in price matching. Like you can get them to move a tiny little bit, but a lot of times trait of these people is they'll just walk. You start jerking them around on price and start nickel and diming them on conditions, and they'll just walk away from you. So know when you're dealing with a Tier 1 installer, they call the shots. You are there to listen and to learn and to be educated by them, because if they're a true Tier 1, they'll be doing that. Okay? They are invited to solve problems. So they get invited on condominium jobs, residential, commercial. They're being called in by general contractors, architects, project managers, because these people have a track record of being reliable, professional, and most importantly, authoritative. You can hear it in their voice. They are detail-oriented people. They understand the product, the process, the history, the specifications. They don't need to look at a tech sheet all the time. Usually they've got this stuff memorized, okay? Usually it's ingrained in what they've been doing, and they can tell you, look, 20 years ago we were doing this, 10 years ago we were doing this. You know, they can rattle off the specs and the pricing. Now, I'm not putting any shame on somebody that wants to pull out a sheet and double check numbers. That is professionalism, is double checking and not always going off. But what I'm saying is that this is something that they live and breathe. Okay? They understand their time. They value their time. Tier 2 operators don't. They will oftentimes make mistakes on timing. Tier 1 operators do not. These are the people that are on industrial shutdowns. They understand that they're going to need 40 hours of shutdown time to go do this, go do that. They're going to need to prep this out. They're going to need to move the lift. They're going to have to account for 3 days of getting the Zoom boom here and there and set up. They understand environmental conditions. Tier 2 and Tier 3 never even give a thought about the weather. They don't even check the weather. They don't even have the weather app on their phone, okay? They have no clue. They'll just schedule themselves to go out and it's raining and they've scheduled their people to go spray. So these are people that are really, really in tune with what's going on conditions-wise and seasons. Like, if we don't get this done now, we'll be out of time, out of season for this. They make other people listen to them. And that's not because they're bullies or bosses. It's because they speak with authority and they speak with distinction. And therefore, they command the ear to be listening. Now, if you are not interested in hiring a Tier 1 person, if you're just wanting a Tier 2 or a Tier 3, the Tier 1 people, and excuse my expression here, will piss you off. Okay? They will seem a little bit arrogant, know-it-all-y, egotistical, and difficult. That is a sign that you're usually dealing with a Tier 1 installer, okay? Because the Tier 1 people cannot be bullied. They cannot be compromised, right? You cannot ransom them or hold hostage their money. They usually are well-financed, well-heeled. They can buy in incredibly large amounts. They can hold on something, sit on something. They have the money to go the distance. They don't stand at your desk demanding to be paid. But they're not reckless with their money. They're not going to sit there and let you or the project or anybody else dictate to them how they're going to do something. So they are smart when it comes to their money. And that probably intimidates low-level people the most because most people want to control people with money. They have long-term employees, 8, 9, 10, 15, 20 years. That right there means they've been in business a long time and their foremans or their top skilled installers have been with them. That means they treat their people well. Their installers on site speak truth. So you can't go and get their installers to cut. Like, I've had people try to get my installers to give them extra foam, to cheat me, to spray something that was never on the spec sheet, to lie to me. And these people, their installers will not do that. They can't be bribed. They speak truth on site. They speak with authority. In fact, a lot of times when my installers are on site, they're carrying the words that I speak to the people. Lesser companies are usually intimidated by the Tier 1 people. They see them coming, they see them involved, they go, oh, great, here we go. Or, I can't. Well, if they're quoting, forget it, or you're wanting to talk to them. They're usually intimidated. The Tier 1 people are going to be well supplied even in times of famine when things are going wrong because they don't bounce around with their suppliers. They have generally loyalties and conditions that are set up to feed the engine that they are. Now, that doesn't mean that, we've all been facing issues and you shouldn't feel guilty if you're trying to get what you need to get when you can and you've had to bounce around to different people. That's just tactical awareness, right? Like, if somebody says, like, I can only sell you 2 or 3 or 10, or you can only get this at such and such a time, well, okay, Tier 1 people are then going to go and purchase, and they're going to purchase as much as they can when they can, stockpile it. They're going to have the ability to use their money and their space to the maximum. They're not wasting time. Hey, you should have ordered this and you didn't. You should have got it then, you didn't. You should have thought of this, they didn't. They've learned all of those lessons, right? They have no money issues. I'm saying this again. If you are having constant money issues, sorry, you're not in Tier 1. Tier 1 people charge and command a top dollar because they value their experience and their knowledge, and they understand that they are worth it. Like, in life, you're going to find this as a general rule, people. People don't want to see you succeed, and they certainly don't want you to know what you're worth. Knowing what you're worth in life means you'll dig a ditch for $10 a day, $50 a day, right? But when you start to say, hey, I'm worth $500 a day, my knowledge is worth $800 a day. If I'm on site, I'm worth $1,200 a day. To be here and mobilize, I need this, I need that. That is a dangerous mindset in a good way, because no longer can you be taken advantage of. And I think that it's important to put what you've acquired as value, as if you get given something and there's no value to obtain it, right? You're not going to take care of it and steward it, and it's going to be easily wasted. Pioneers are always changing things up for better. Usually people are looking over their shoulders, seeing what they're doing. They're being copied. They're being emulated. They are being asked, the tier 1 people are usually being asked to take something over. They've either fired the other people or can't deal with them anymore, or they've made an error and somebody's got to come in and fix it up. The tier 1s are always capable of finishing what they start. They never are getting into a situation where they don't have the time, the money, the staff. They bit off more than they can chew. That's just not who they are. They're always known by the local code officials and the local authorities having jurisdiction as being good people, people that when they see them on site, the code people are happy. In fact, the code people will oftentimes be chatting with them and asking them questions. And in short, I'm going to sum this up now. These people, the tier 1s, are the gatekeepers. And you say, well, what's a gatekeeper? Well, a gatekeeper in life is somebody of influence. Somebody that can influence culture and business dynamics around them. They're really a steward of what's going on. They bring the whole entire industry up. They elevate the money. They elevate the expertise. They elevate the entertainment value. They elevate the professionalism values. They usually have a flow of ideas and information. They usually have a flow of solutions and help that nobody has experienced or thought of. They are creative people, and they are dreamers as well, because they are always inventing. They're usually patent holders or people that are coming up with a new way of doing something. And they're usually the people that are out there giving advice and stewarding people and helping people, usually. You can move up into tier 1, but it's going to have to be your calling. It's going to have to be your passion. It's going to have to be something that you live and eat and breathe, and that you find acquiring the knowledge easy, and you like doing it. And you are capable of taking what you know, collecting it, aggregating it, sifting through it, and then explaining it to people in layman's terms. That is the final trait of a tier 1 person. It's not necessary, but it is a general trait. You can go out and spray great big huge liquid fertilizer tank and have 6 rigs on it, go through 40 sets in 1 week, put top coatings on. That's a tier 1 installer. Or you can be a 1-truck guy that bangs off $1 million house or a standard basement for people, but you hit your marks and you do it well, and you give the people from start to finish a great buying experience, where from the day they made the first contact with you to the day the job was completed and the bill was presented, they were like, yes, this is awesome, this is great, we liked it, more please, and we recommend you. So that is fairly effortless for the tier 1 people. They're continually doing it because it's a part of who they are. So hope these 3 tiers make sense. I hope you agree. Like I said, 22 years of being in the industry, I've dealt with them all, folks. And the tier 1s always stood out. They just looked that way when they walked through the door. It was just, and I always wanted to know more and be a part of them. And if I was going to do foam, I wanted to do it on the top tier for product and knowledge and everything. I didn't want to ever just stay at the bottom. I always wanted to progress as much as possible. So hope this helps. Lay out a comment. We'd like to hear from you. Share this video with somebody that needs to see it, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.